Happy almost Thanksgiving. So I thought I would go ahead and share with you guys my Thanksgiving turkey brine. I'm doing things a little bit different this year, and it's actually kind of, I've got some pretty amazing recipes, so I was like, whatever, I'll just jump on here and fill you in on how I do this. Because it's Sunday, there's plenty of time before Thanksgiving if you want to try to go ahead and do this. So basically I have a 15.5-pound turkey and a turkey breast that my mother-in-law purchased that have been in the freezer. I took them out last night and they're thawing. I am going to do my turkey a little different this year. I'm going to make it ahead on Wednesday. Actually, I'll probably do it late at night Wednesday. We're going out with friends Wednesday night, so I'll have it ready by Thursday morning, and it's going to take all of the stress away. Amazing. I can't wait. I'm super excited about this. I just discovered this on Pinterest, of course. So the very first step in my Thanksgiving is getting my turkey brine ready. So I used to do a Martha Stewart brine, of course, but I used to do a Martha Stewart brine, and it was fantastic. It was the best turkey I ever had until last year, where I changed it up a little, and I'm doing Pioneer Woman, basically. She does a whiskey maple turkey. Well, this is Kentucky. We's bourbon country, so we's mixing it up with a little bourbon instead. So what I've done, there are 2 quarts of water in this pot right here, and in my pitcher here, there are 3 cups of bourbon. Now, she calls for whiskey, but she lives in Texas, and I'm in Kentucky, so, you know, when in Kentucky, you do bourbon. And I'm about to add 2 cups of maple syrup to my bourbon. And if you're wondering why I had such a large thing of maple syrup, it's because it was on sale at Costco like 2 months ago. And I was like, I'm gonna need a boatload of maple syrup for Thanksgiving, so I'm gonna go ahead and grab it now. So all I'm doing here is just kind of whisking this around so the maple syrup doesn't stick to the bottom, and I'm going to add that to my water. Okay, so like I said, I've got my 2 quarts of water, my 3 cups of whiskey, 2 cups of maple syrup, whisked the whiskey or the bourbon and the maple syrup together so that the maple syrup wouldn't stick to the bottom of the bowl, because that's a pain. And then to this, I'm going to actually turn it on. And it doesn't matter what temperature, because you want everything to basically come to a boil, and then you're going to turn it off anyway. So to that, I'm going to add 3/4 of a cup of kosher salt. Coarse is usually better for your brines. If you use the fine salt, I would say cut it down to about 1/2 cup, because what happens is if you don't use the coarse salt, the fine salt actually has a lot more content than your coarse salt does. So you're basically doubling the amount. So I would do 1/2 cup, because the last thing you want is a salty turkey. Now I'm going to show you these where I kind of diverge from Pioneer Woman's recipe. So there's 5 bay leaves. That's the same thing. We're going to throw those in the pot there. And then what she calls for are 5 chopped cloves. Well, minced, actually. It's a pain in the neck to mince cloves, and there's really no reason to. So I literally, with the skins on and everything else, because they will all boil up nicely, they'll all cook together, they'll get nice and yummy in their little bath water here, and the flavors will still come out. You do not have to worry about chopping them up. It's just too much work. Learned that from Martha Stewart. There is flavor in your garlic skins. There is flavor in your onion skins. And in fact, when I'm making bone broth, I keep a bag of like leftover onion peels and like the ends of onions and this junk that I would throw away, the ends of the celery, stuff that I would normally throw away. I actually keep a bag in my freezer along with like any chicken bones or anything else, and then that's how I make my bone broth too. So it really does add the flavor. You don't need to chop it up. It's just an extra step, and why bother? And then the only thing that she calls for is 4 sprigs of rosemary. Well, I like to keep my flavor profiles the same, so I'm putting in my rosemary, but I'm also gonna go ahead and add just a little bit of fresh thyme and fresh sage. And again, you don't need to chop it up because all you're doing is boiling it. It's all gonna come out there. The oils are gonna release. It'll be great. And here, and then my 3 tablespoons of peppercorns, more or less, just eyeball it, you're good. As long as you have like a little handful like that, you're fine. Just in the palm of your hand, that when you make that little cup, if it fills that, that's about a tablespoon, like kind of fat handful like that. Okay, here's the biggest difference, okay? So what she actually calls for, and I did it last year, is the peels of 2 green apples and the peels of 2 red apples. Now, it's too early for me to be baking my apple pies, so what the heck am I gonna do with the insides of apples? And all apples do is add more flavor. So I'm dumping my apples in too. The other big difference is that she calls for the peels of 2 oranges, and she goes ahead and throws them in at this point. Here's the thing about orange peels. Orange peel, lemon peel, if you're doing orange zest or lemon zest, something I never knew, and I actually just learned from the Food Network the other day, and I was like, oh, wow, I've been doing it wrong all this time. Who knew? You don't want to cook orange peels, orange zest, lemon peels, or lemon zest, because even if it doesn't have pith in it, but especially if you're just literally pulling the peels off, it'll get bitter, and the oils just kind of turn rancid, and you're not going to get as good of a flavor as if you add them later. So I have oranges, but I also have like these miniolas that nobody ate. So I got a bunch of them. So when this thing comes out, I'm going to take these babies, I'm going to cut them in half, and I'm going to throw them in after everything's all cooked and boiled and when it's ready to go in the fridge. So let's get this baby boiled. Everything, and if I could even tell you the smell in this house right now, it's like barely started. You saw me turn it on and it already smells amazing. So I'm gonna let that guy kind of hang out, bubble up, and we'll check back in a second. And because, it wouldn't be Thanksgiving if you didn't have multiple things going on at one time, I am also going to do my cranberries. So I have a bag of cranberries in the pot, and to that I am going to add, a half a cup of brown sugar. And now, at this point you can kind of do whatever you want, but I am adding a cup of apple juice. You can add orange juice, you can add whatever you want. But here's the fun thing. I am now adding to my cranberries a cup of blueberries. So it's really like super healthy, except for the next 2 ingredients I'm about to put in. All right, here is a half a cup of whiskey. It's bourbon actually. Not whiskey, same thing, but Kentucky bourbon. Cup of regular granulated sugar. And that is it. I'm literally just gonna put a lid on this and let this cook until my cranberries are popped and everything kind of comes together, and it's gonna be fabulous. Here's the great thing about cranberry sauce. It is literally the easiest thing on the planet to make. You throw cranberries in a pot, you throw in some sugar. It's essentially jam, which you can make. You can use strawberries, you can use raspberries, you can use whatever. If you've got berries that are in the freezer from the summer, throw those in. Any kind of thing that's gonna fall apart, by all means. So chuck those in. Super easy, and you can kind of change it to whatever you want. My dad used to make one that was like super cinnamony, and he added cloves and like allspice and who knows what else tasted like pie. But anyway, so just add whatever you want, but that's going to be mine for this time. And I actually think I'm going to add some ginger to it too. All right, so the last thing I'm going to add to this is just some fresh grated ginger. Here's a really good trick. This is a Rachel Ray trick. When you have fresh ginger, it goes bad pretty quick. So what you do is you take the entire little knob here and you put it in the freezer in like a Ziploc baggie. I actually just wrap mine in like saran wrap. And then anytime you need it, you can just pull it out. But the nice thing about it is it makes it super easy for grating. So I'm just gonna grate some fresh ginger into my cranberry sauce. Bam, ready to go. All right, so that deliciousness has come together and I am ready to take it up. As you see, it's not boiling. All I needed to do was to get the salt dissolved, and everything's dissolved. Everything's come together, and now I'm gonna add it to my mandarins. All right, so here are the mandarins. And now I'm just going dump it all in on top carefully. And then once this cools, I will be able to put my turkey in the brine. They are bubbling and popping. That sounds amazing. So I'm gonna just let those keep going, and then those will be ready to put in the refrigerator. All right, there it is. There is the finished cranberry sauce. I'm just letting it cool and go in. There is my finished brine. So we already have a head start on Thanksgiving. How's that? Have a great day, you guys. Check in tomorrow for what I'm gonna be doing next, which is probably gonna be my pie crust.